Hague has said Russia has taken operational control of Crimea. He says the situation in Ukraine is the most serious European crisis of the 21st century.
Well, meanwhile, President Putin insists that Moscow is acting to protect its citizens from a government that it calls extremist and illegal.
Well, the BBC's World Affairs editor John Simpson joins us right now from Sevastopol. Thanks very much for joining us, John. Just give us your assessment of what's the latest and what's going on.
Well, it's true that quietly, without, as far as we know, a shot having been fired, Russia has taken control of the Crimean Peninsula. I saw it yesterday myself on the land border into the peninsula, just one narrow little stretch of land where there's a large checkpoint. And I saw soldiers who could have been Russian or could have been pro-Russian Ukrainians, it wasn't clear, digging trenches all the way along by the side of the road so that they could, if they wanted to, control that. Crimea has been cut off and Russia is the power that's in charge. It's got several thousand, we assume, soldiers actually on the ground. And the Ukrainian army and naval forces, such as they are, can't really do anything about it. So that's one thing. The next thing, which is much, much more difficult and important in some ways, because this place is somewhere which has belonged to Russia in the past until the 1950s. It's somewhere where there are a lot of people that feel themselves to be Russian. That's not difficult. But in the eastern part of the Ukraine, there are cities like Donyets, where the majority of people also feel themselves to be Russian, where tempers are very high, where trouble could come. And the question is now, does Russia also say, well, this is part of us too, and we would like this bit back, please, if you don't mind?
And we've heard the Foreign Secretary, William Hague, describing it, John, as the biggest crisis in Europe of the 21st century. He's also echoing President Obama's words, there would be significant costs. I mean, how important is the diplomacy in all of this, and how much difference will it make?
Well, it does make a big difference. Russia sets great store by its modern status as a big financial center, as a center of manufacture, a center which can influence the outside world through things like the G8. So being chucked off that is something which would hurt Russia's pride, I think, a great deal. And also, of course, the ruble's been tumbling down yesterday and today. I imagine it'll continue for some days to come as this uncertainty about what's going to happen in eastern Ukraine continues. So there are lots and lots of areas of damage which can be done to the Russian economy. It's just a question, really, I think, of whether President Putin feels, well, that's a price that you have to pay, but the kind of self-confidence and the sheer pleasure that many, many, many Russian people, I'm sure a great majority of Russian people, will feel about taking back territory they feel should never have left them, that balance will be in President Putin's favour.
And just tell us a little bit about Ukrainian forces. You mentioned no shot fired until this point.
Yes, I mean, there's not much they can do because it isn't just Russian soldiers standing outside the various bases, Ukrainian army and naval bases. It's also Ukrainians of Russian descent themselves, these sort of self-defense forces, some people are calling them here. The just ordinary civilians who've, you know, picked up some kind of weapon if they need them, or just simply a banner and have gone and stood outside the Ukrainian forces' centres and demanding that they surrender. They haven't surrendered yet. Perhaps they won't. It wouldn't obviously be a very sensible thing for the Russian soldiers to go trying to break in and their friends with them. That wouldn't really probably be a very sane thing to do. But nevertheless, I mean, it's clear who's in control.
John Simpson, thank you for talking to us live there from Sevastopol. Thank you.